70% of homes in the US have this, and it's causing brain damage. And this is almost perfect timing because unfortunately, now with the two hurricanes that have hit the US, almost 100% of the homes are going to have two of these um, toxins in their home, and it's causing brain damage. So, outside of prayers, if there's something I can do, it's in this video. For the 70% of people uh, without having been hit by the hurricane, and the people that have, and what can be done, and what is it that is causing brain damage that's in the home. It's mold. And about 70% of homes have mold. And what's very interesting is CNN did a report, and up to 33% of new homes have mold in them. So it's something that we really have to look at seriously, and at least 45 million buildings in the US have unhealthy levels of mold. And 100% of the people that have been hit by the Hurricane Helene or Milton are going to have to deal with mold. So it's just imperative to know what this can do. And mold turns within 48 hours or forms within 48 hours after water damage. It also changes your immune system, not within hours, but within, I'm sorry, not within days, but within hours. So, mold is a very quick reacting toxin in the body. And then we've got another toxin that we're dealing with um, that is really related to storms and water at a different time of year. Um, no, not 70% of homes in the US have this, but with the two hurricanes, I think it's really important to bring this up. So, blue-green algae, which is a cyanobacteria, it can contaminate homes' water supply in areas that are regularly affected by algae blooms. This can happen when a drastic weather changes make it difficult to treat contaminants in the water supply. So, with all of the people hit with the hurricanes, we're dealing with mold and possibly blue-green algae popping up. And again, I'll get into our toxic exposure. Um, but mold exposure can cause a variety of neurologic effects, including headaches, migraines, cognitive impairments, memory loss, confusion, impaired motor skills, depression, and other behavioral changes. Again, if you listen to the videos that I'm putting out there, and my passion is the brain health, the gut brain access, every single mental health condition is associated with neuroinflammation. Everything from anxiety, depression to obsessive compulsive disorder, schizophrenia, brain injuries, stroke, cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all have neuroinflammation. Every COVID long hauler has neuroinflammation. And as I was saying also earlier, mold starts to affect the immune system right away. Our immune systems, because of our environment, are why we are having an increase in autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune now is the third leading condition, chronic condition that we face. And it has to do with leaky gut and our environment. But so does depression and every other mental health condition that we can um, talk about. We're all dealing with this neuroinflammation, plus alterations to the brain's immune system, the body's immune system, and unfortunately, some of the times, both of them colliding and having some real issues. So, the big problem with mold is a lot of people don't realize they have it. and it could be underneath your carpet, in your ceiling, or behind walls. So it's just this kind of sneaky thing that's growing and you're not aware of it. Um, then there's the blue-green algae. So just again, what causes it? And right here it says little wind, warm water. So obviously with the hurricanes, we don't have little wind. And God, my heart goes out to everybody. So I hope this video, and for the people in 70% of homes, I can give you an answer, without even having to see me. So they all increase the chance of a bloom. Warm weather patterns and large rain events wash agricultural and residential fertilizers, which contain phosphorus. So it's this phosphorus in the fertilizers and the stuff in the water, that causes this blue-green algae to happen. So we're dealing with mold and blue-green algae if you've been hit by the hurricane. If not, we're talking about mold, which is in 70% of homes. So this is very serious stuff. And when you look at this, toxins that can cause inflammation in the brain. So, inflammation in the brain is what is causing a lot of our mental health conditions. Yes, we have gone through some horrible things in life, and I never want to take that away because that has to be treated as well. But we are literally encountering a new uh, crisis in mental health, and it's the environment that's causing a lot of these or exacerbating something that would be a lot more mild in a different case. So, mold. Some mold species produce mycotoxins. M- The mold that's in your home is producing these mycotoxins that are triggering chronic inflammation. It's the black mold, and it can be either a black or a dark green color. And it's a toxin that can cause or harm brain function and neurons. Then blue-green algae. This type of bacteria produces cyanotoxins, which can be toxic to humans and dogs. One of the cyanotoxins, BMAA, is linked to neurodegenerative disorders. So please, we are facing, this is why functional medicine has become such an important need for people. There was a great neurologist that was on a show the other day, and he had turned to functional neurology like I have, and he said, we're practicing medicine that's a century old. 95% of the drugs that are on the market are treating symptoms. And please, there are some phenomenal medications in the world, and I never want to say that prescription and Western medicine is bad. We have some advances, oh my gosh, in saving lives when an accident happens. There are some phenomenal medications that are available. I mean, antibiotics, insulin. I mean, what would we do without some of these things? But we have to look at functional medicine and treating the root cause. What is causing this to happen, and how do we take care of it? How do we get it rid of it in our body? And in this case, how do we get it out of our homes? So I just can't emphasize how important it is to be cognizant and of and aware that we are facing a mental health crisis, and the environment is playing a huge role in it. And so going to a therapist may help, and is always a good idea. But when you have somebody, humbly like myself or other practitioners that look at both the psychological component and then the physical makeup of redeveloping the brain, reducing the neural inflammation, stopping the autoimmune attacks, healing a leaky brain or a leaky gut, we can do so many things that we haven't been able to do in the past because we have knowledge now of what's happening to the brain and what's causing it. So I just think it's also important, that It's not just your brain. So if you look here, increased cytokine levels also attract white blood cells, which restrict blood flow and reduce oxygen in the tissues. Okay, this is really important because a lot of people that have strokes, it's because they get a clot and it cuts off their oxygen supply. Two things. One, the brain is the most susceptible to oxidative stress because it needs oxygen. That's one reason why we have more issues with brain health, brain function, the gut and brain, just because in and of itself, it is more susceptible to inflammation. And at the same time, if we cut off that oxygen and the reason why it's susceptible to inflammation, we're killing brain cells. People with brain injuries, in a lot of cases, we think that some of the neurons are dead. We can bring them back. Stroke victims, we can only bring back the parts of the brain that haven't been killed off because once you lose that supply of oxygen to the brain. So now, if you're having and a lot of people are starting to believe this, that we have many strokes before we have a major stroke. And it's because we're not getting enough oxygen supply to the brain. So vitamins like K2 that get rid of arterial calcification can do wondrous things. But I'm going to talk about a very specific and a very special compound to look at mold and to look at some of the other toxins like blue-green algae. So as we move a little bit into what are the negative effects of blue-green algae on humans, we did talk about its effect on just neurologic. It's causing neurologic brain damage. But high levels are diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, skin, eye, throat irritation, breathing difficulties. Animals will in many cases consume a lot of it. So for those of you that have gone through, and I feel so bad, and I hope maybe this helps, and you start to see some of these signs, it could be because of the blue-green algae. Okay, and it's wreaked havoc on the gut bacteria. And so it can cause irritable bowel syndrome and irritable bowel disease. So again, if you start to notice changes that are happening in your mental health, in your gut, and sinus changes, you know, 93% of chronic sinus infections or chronic sinus issues are attributed to mold. 93%. So doctors are not, a Western doctor's not going, oh my gosh, you have a chronic sinus infection and dealing with it. Here's this wonderful magical ingredient to get rid of the mold. And that's why functional medicine becomes so important. So if you hang on with me, we'll get into what that incredible ingredient is. But remember, there is not one pill to treat one ill. And this goes to my whole point about we are dealing with mental health that just didn't exist 30 years ago because we're introduced to not 700, not 70,000, but 700,000 toxins a day. And these toxins that we are introduced to every day are causing headaches, dizzy spells, body aches, anxiety, stress, depression, inability to concentrate, weakness of the immune system. These are conditions that people who have had brain injuries have. So we're seeing this in the regular population just because of environmental um, toxins that are out there. In this study, now just think of this, okay? Anytime inflammation happens in the brain, you are susceptible to brain damage and an alteration in your mood and in the way that you function. And I know I did a video on the gut brain axis, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But the importance of making sure that we reduce and do not have neuroinflammation going on and a healthy microbiome is so astronomical these days. 3,427 adults were studied, and they found 25 environmental toxin levels measured in the blood that were associated with depressive symptoms. So these are 27 toxins that are causing depression. But I also wanted to say that I don't believe it's just 27, because anytime you're causing neuroinflammation, you are increasing the chance of depression and anxiety and mental health conditions. And then this is what's so scary, and um why I don't know if I'd ever want to bring another child into the world right now. These are the consequences of prenatal toxin exposure for mental health in children and adolescents. I- There are kids that are being born depressed and having anxiety because they're getting toxic exposures from the mother, and it's getting to children before they're even born. I mean, this is so scary. The EPA, I mean, tests something like 200 of the 80,000 chemicals that are out there right now. If you ever want to see a phenomenal movie, it's called Dark Waters, and it goes into a toxin that was being dumped in the water. And this is what we're dealing with today. And then we have heavy metal contamination. Um, Now, lead crosses the blood-brain barrier. So now when I talk about leaky gut and leaky brain, it's the disruption of the blood-brain barrier. And that is another video, and I've gotten into it. And that disruption was originally thought to just happen to brain injuries and stroke victims, but now it's happening with a lot of other mental health things. And so we have this leaky brain, and lead starts to get stored up in there. Glutathione, here we go. I'm introducing to me Baobab in the last video I did, and glutathione would be my number one and number two picks if I had nothing left in this world to take for my health. These are two ingredients that to me are so powerful and have just such a tremendous effect. Um, with the baobab, I'll show you again if you want to be able to get it. I never charge people when I prescribe medications, compound supplements. They get things at my cost, and it's very important to me because I know the cost of healthcare is expensive. Functional medicine practitioners usually don't take insurance because insurance won't cover what really helps people get better. But glutathione can chelate and get rid of lead and mercury. This is huge because there were a lot of doctors for a long time that wanted to do heavy metal chelation, and they were causing a lot more damage than good. Here's just a thing again, 93% of chronic sinus infections have been attributed to mold. So we just need to be really aware of how detrimental something that's in 70% of our homes and in 48 million buildings, but we have this substance, glutathione. Now, the challenge with glutathione is that most of the glutathione on the market doesn't work very well. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying it doesn't work very well. Um, and this is where I have a little bit of an advantage is that of the 30 years that I've been in functional medicine, I've been on the corporate side. So I know the companies who make these different compounds. And when I prescribe something, I prescribe companies that I know make the right form of an ingredient. When you take glutathione, for example, most of the glutathione on the market is reduced glutathione. And unless you put that into a liposomal form or you have an acetyl version of it, um, it really is, you're really struggling to get an efficacious dose out of it. And glutathione, and in this thing, it's talking about research suggests that mycotoxins can decrease the formation of glutathione in the body. So our body does make glutathione, but we are so overwhelmed that we're becoming depleted in glutathione. And another challenge with glutathione is that it has a very short half-life. So I use a very unique glutathione that has a precursor to producing glutathione, an acetyl version, and then a liposomal. So I'm making sure that my patients are getting the absolute best of the best. And unfortunately, it's not something where I can um, send people to it because it has to have a healthcare practitioner prescribe this particular glutathione. Baobab, I was able to talk to the owner, and if you go to my YouTube site and my profile, there is a link there for Baobab. But glutathione is not one where I have any ability to do anything other than get it at my cost. Um, Glutathione is considered the mother of all antioxidants. It's so amazing because it's made out of three amino acids. It seems so simple, just three little amino acids, but the formation of these amino acids make this truly one of the most powerful compounds and up in my top one or two in the world because of what glutathione is able to do in terms of immune modulation, reducing neuroinflammation, its ability to cross different barriers that otherwise would be blocked by other antioxidants, the recycling of other antioxidants. Glutathione is, there is no magic bullet, but if there was a close one, glutathione would be it. So it's just something that I want people to be aware of. That's in 70% of homes. It is uh, in just about every single home that's going to be hit or has been hit by these hurricanes. And the form of glutathione is so important. So you can always contact me. Um, I'm at mybrainmechanic.com. My email's there. I'll answer questions. I do consultations completely free of charge. And I do that a lot of times I can help somebody in the first time, at least if they're struggling to pay for healthcare, I can get them on the right path. And you know, I got into functional neurology because I had a brain injury, and the help I got until I found the right practitioner was just horrible. So when you have somebody that just really truly cares and knows what they're doing, because I really feel there are only a handful of practitioners that really understand autoimmunity of the brain and functional neurology. A lot of more doctors and practitioners are understanding functional medicine, but the gut brain axis, there's not a whole lot of us out there. But again, you can always go to my profile on my brain mechanic. I tried to put it in the description, but the hyperlink won't go in there. You can get a free consultation with me. Tiga, I got a special arrangement so you could get 20% off if you use the link that's in my profile. And it's attributed to the healthiest guts in the world. But before we kind of wrap this up and end, I just want to go over that we're dealing with 70% of homes with mold and mold at levels that's causing brain damage. We have this blue-green algae. We have every home now. I don't know how many millions of homes that have been hit by Helene and by Milton. And there is something we can do about it. Um, for people exposed to mold, I would not just solely use glutathione, but if you had no other choice and you can't afford to work with a practitioner and you just want to know some information, glutathione and baobab are two absolute musts. You can get them. Now, the baobab, I'm able to get you a discount. Glutathione, the form I would use, unfortunately, it has to be prescribed. But I'm more than happy to do it even after a free consultation just to get you on your way. If you've been in the hurricane or had to deal with either Milton or Helene, I do all my consultations free, but I will get you hooked up on things to battle and fight, and get a regiment put together for you at no charge. So maybe that's what I can help do, to give back in this time of need and what we're going through. So again, my name is Scott, with My Brain Mechanic, and I look forward to doing a lot more videos and bringing more interesting content. Thank you.